Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, July 24th. It's a regular city commission meeting in the city of Winter Haven. If I can get our city clerk Vanessa Castillo to give us a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Mercer. Here. Commissioner Yates.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong.
Here.
Mayor Dance.
Here. Okay, our invocation tonight be led by Pastor Michael Spivey from the People's Church, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our city clerk Vanessa Castillo. Please stand if able.
Lord, this evening we bow our hearts, we bow our heads, and we thank you for your goodness. Lord, we don't presume upon your grace, and we give you thanks for all you've done for us tonight. We pray that you would give this commission wisdom from heaven. We pray that you would touch each commissioner and the mayor. Lord, help them to make wise and prudent decisions regarding our city. Let your hand be upon them, we pray, Lord. All this in Christ's name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Pastor. All right, we've got two special presentations tonight that'll be read by the same person. Julia Davis will be, we're doing both of these, I understand. This is a presentation from the Polk Transportation Organization, the TPO. You guys hear us talk about that. This is a presentation honoring and remembering the service of J.P. Powell, our esteemed colleague, used to sit right here. And then the second one will be a presentation from the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, remembering the service of Commissioner J.P. Powell. So what I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners to do is we're going to go down here and stand. Mrs. Davis is going to read these proclamations and come up for pictures. And then we're going to come back and do we'll stay down for the third proclamation, which is the Florida Water Professionals Month. The city manager will read that for us. So commissioners, if you join me down front, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members and members of the board and everybody in the audience, including the family. This is a resolution of the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, Resolution 2307, a resolution of the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, TPO, honoring and remembering the service of James H. J.P. Powell to the Polk TPO, the city of Winter Haven, and the region. James H. J.P. Powell, 1957 to 2023. Whereas the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, TPO board is composed of elected officials from Polk County, and many of the 17 municipalities within Polk County were appointed to the TPO by their government organizations. And whereas James H. Powell, or JP, served the Winter Haven community from 2007 to 2023 in various terms as city commissioner, mayor pro tem, and as mayor. And whereas JP served the city of Winter Haven as an alternate to the Polk Transportation Planning Organization Board from 2018 to 2023, and a liaison for Winter Haven to the Polk Transit Authority from 2018 to 2023, and also is an active member of the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board from 2018 to 2023. And whereas JP was passionate about transportation issues and worked toward cooperative solutions to problems, and whereas JP passed away peacefully at his home on April 24th, 2023. And whereas JP will always be remembered for being committed to serving his community and the region as well. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Polk Transportation Planning Organization that the Polk Transportation Planning Organization hereby honors and remembers the services of James H. J.P. Powell to the Polk TPO, the city of Winter Haven, and the region. Duly passed and adopted this 8th day of June, 2023, signed by Commissioner Jack Myers, Chairman, Polk Transportation Planning Organization, attested by Parag Agarwal, ASCP, the TPO Director, and approved by the TPO Attorney as to form and legal sufficiency by Elizabeth Voss, TPO Attorney. I present this to you.
We draw flags.
Yes.
We want to have a family come up. We'll do that in a second.
Okay, and I meant to mention that I have with me today Commissioner Jeremy Clark from the city of Davenport. He is the chairman of the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. And he's with us here today. So this is the resolution from the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. And it has 3 amendments on the top. One is from the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged, which is a Florida organization. One is the Polk Transportation Planning Organization. And the third icon is the Citrus Connection Progress in Motion, because those are all the partners in the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board program. So this is a resolution of the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board 2023-01. A resolution of the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, TDLCB, honoring and remembering the service of James H. J.P. Powell to the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged community. James H. J.P. Powell, 1957 to 2023. Whereas in Florida, people who are transportation disadvantaged are unable to transport themselves or to purchase transportation and are therefore dependent upon others to obtain access to health care, employment, education, shopping, social activities, or other life-sustaining activities. And whereas the purpose of the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged statewide transportation disadvantage program is to ensure the availability of coordinated transportation services in a community. Coordination enhances transportation access, minimizes duplication of services, and facilitates the most appropriate, cost-effective transportation possible with available resources. This is done for people who meet the definition of transportation disadvantage and who meet eligibility criteria for transportation services. And whereas to maintain its presence on a local level, the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged has established transportation disadvantaged local coordinating boards for each county that advise the commission directly on local TD issues, oversee the responsibilities of the local community transportation coordinator, review all existing and proposed TD programs, and recommend the use of funds received from the Transportation Disadvantaged Trust Fund. And whereas the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board is composed of 19 voting members, some of whom are appointed by their local governments. And whereas James H. J.P. Powell, or JP, served the Winter Haven community from 2007 to 2023 in various terms as city commissioner, mayor pro tem, and as mayor. And whereas JP served the city of Winter Haven as an alternate to the Polk Transportation Planning Organization Board from 2018 to 2023, and as a liaison for Winter Haven to the Polk Transit Authority from 2018 to 2023, and also as an active member of the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board from 2018 to 2023. And whereas JP was passionate about transportation issues and work towards cooperative solutions to problems. Whereas JP passed away peacefully at his home on April 24th, 2023. And whereas JP will always be remembered for being committed to serving his community and the region as well. Now therefore be it resolved by the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board that the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board hereby honors and remembers the service of James H. J.P. Powell to the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. Duly passed and adopted this 12th day of June, 2023, signed Commissioner Jeremy Clark, Chairman of the Polk Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, attested by Barack Agrawal, the Polk TPO Director, and approved by the TPO Attorney as to form and legal sufficiency, Elizabeth Foss. We present this to you.
I want to thank our TPO staff for being here and making these presentations this evening. Very special, moving moment for a very special man in our world. At this point, I'm going to ask members of our Winter Haven Water team to come forward for proclamation. While they do so, I'll read the proclamation, which reads as follows. Whereas the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association is a statewide organization composed of water industry professionals who dedicate themselves to the production and distribution of safe drinking water, as well as the proper collection, treatment, reuse, and disposal of wastewater and stormwater. And whereas this organization is committed to protecting the health of Florida citizens and our state's natural resources, and supports the training, certification, and licensing of water industry personnel as a means to achieve these goals. And whereas the organization, in recognizing the importance of the Florida statutes and the administrative code that regulate the water industry, acts as a liaison between the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and industry personnel. And whereas each year the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association recognizes all those who have played a significant part in operating and maintaining drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems in Florida by celebrating Florida Water Professionals Month, which applauds their constant efforts to protect our health and environment. Now, therefore, Bradley T. Dantzler, Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, does hereby proclaim August 2023 as Florida Water Professionals Month in the City of Winter Haven, and asks our citizens to join us in thanking all water and wastewater professional staff for their hard work and dedication to preserving Florida's water resources. In witness whereof, he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 24th day of July 2023. Signed, Bradley T. Dantzler, Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. I'll keep my comments very brief. I know we got a long meeting today. But just wanted to thank you for recognizing our water professionals. That goes from our customer service people to our distribution and collection folks, our water treatment plant folks, and our wastewater treatment plant folks. All these people are critical to providing the services that are needed by our citizens. It was great to see this past year and the legislature approved a bill that recognized our utility workers as first responders, as they should have been all along. So we look forward to that. And thank you again very much.
Okay. Developments of note, we have none. Commissioners, we have a minutes from June 26, 2023 regular city commission meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
move approval of the minutes.
thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. I will close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to the minutes, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Comments from the audience? We have none. Nobody signed up, but if anybody would like to address us at this time, please come forward and you give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes. Seeing none, we'll go on to ordinance second reading public hearing. This is 02329, request by the shops of CC LLC to amend the plan unit development ordinance. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-23-29, an ordinance amending chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Winter Haven, Florida by amending plan unit development ordinance O-22-60, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. General location, 2 parcels located east of Country Club Road in line between Webb Road and Dundee Road, State Road 542. The area covered by this request is 34.72 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, as the attorney mentioned, the shops at CC LLC requesting to amend the PUD, which covers 34.72 acres. Specifically, the changes requested include permitting the use of live oak trees as canopy trees within the commercial parking area, yard trees within the multifamily area, increase the width and reduce the number of plantings for the Dundee Road landscape buffer, correct a scrivener's error relating to the Webb Road landscape buffer, and increase the maximum lighting intensity of the commercial parking lot from 2.5 foot candles to 3.0 foot candles. The requested changes to the PUD are consistent with the adopted neighborhood activity center future land use. There will be no additional impacts to supporting water, wastewater, transportation, or school facilities. All notifications have been met. Part of the conclusion, staff notes that the requested increase in lighting intensity for the front retail parking lot area represents a slight increase in lighting intensity, which may be imperceptible to the human eye. The requested changes to the Dundee Road landscape buffer are generally consistent with the 15-foot type C landscape buffer requirements. Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of this request with no public comments. Staff's recommending the City Commission approve ordinance O-2329 on second reading this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners? Questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
move for approval of ordinance O-23-29.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve O-2329. On second reading, I'll close the public city commission meeting, open a public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and reopen city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions or comments from staff before we take this vote? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Commissioners, you have in front of you consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move for approval of the consent agenda as a whole.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda in its entirety and as a whole. I will close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to any item on the consent agenda, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments on the consent agenda? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. On the resolution, this is local housing assistant plan. This is R 2336. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R 23 36. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, approving the local housing assistance plan as required by the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program Act, subsections 420.907 through 420.9079 Florida statutes, and Rule Chapter 67-37 Florida Administrative Code, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any necessary documents and certifications needed by the state, authorizing the submission of the local housing assistance plan for review and approval by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, providing for severability, the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for repeal of conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, the SHIP program is a state program authorized under Florida statutes and was formed through the Florida State Legislature's passage of the William E. Sadowski Act on July 7th, 1973. SHIP was designed to provide housing assistance mainly to very low, and moderate income households. The program is available to all counties in the state as well as to cities which have a population of 50,000 or more. The local government must develop a local housing assistance plan, also known as the LHAP. This is written to cover a 3-year period and outlines the various housing activities the jurisdiction will undertake in the next 3 years. So the LHAP we're presenting this evening is for fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25, and fiscal year 26. For each of those years, for 24 and what is anticipated for the 2 years following it, the funding coming to the city will be $613,073 specifically for the programs within SHIP. Once distributed, expenditure of those funds, there's a 3-year spending cycle, meaning that we have 3 years to expend the funds. The annual report is due September 15th of 2023, and it will detail how the expenditures for the prior year were spent. A minimum of 65% of our grant funds must be spent on homeownership activities. At least 30% must be reserved for very low income households. 30% must be reserved for households with an 80% area median income, and the remaining may be reserved for households up to 140% area median income. Within the LHAP, I just point out a couple of things. As I mentioned, just a little over $613,000 for this year and the 2 years following. The areas that we are focused on within our LHAP are owner-occupied rehabilitation, purchase assistance, which would be down payment assistance with homeownership, emergency repair, and disaster mitigation. Disaster mitigation is kind of a unique one. You would think that that would line up with emergency repair, but not necessarily. Emergencies can happen at any time, but when you have a natural disaster or in anticipation of natural disasters, there are things that homeowners can do that qualify for SHIP funds. This could be replacing a roof after a hurricane or repairing a house following damage from a hurricane. It can also apply to tree trimming and tree removal during the non-hurricane season as part of the disaster mitigation efforts there. A couple other just unique points within the SHIP program. We mentioned 60% AMI, or the very low income households, the low income and the moderate income. Diane Durr, who is not with us this evening, is who put together the LHAP. I had a chance to speak with her on what those categories pertain to. So just for the benefit of all, our special needs population is our #1 priority. So that is veterans, victims of domestic violence, children aging out of foster care, and anyone receiving Social Security supplemental. So our developmentally disabled. Very low income households, that's the second priority. That is individuals that are at 60% average median income. Low income households are the third category at 80% AMI, and moderate income households at 120 AMI. Just as an example, AMI for Winter Haven in a household of 4 individuals, so that could be 2 parents, 2 children, or a single parent with 3 children. The AMI is $71,333. So if you figure very low is going to be at 60% of that, you can see what these folks are challenged with financially. So At this point, staff is recommending adoption of resolution R 2336, approving the LHAP and authorizing the mayor to sign any necessary certifications and to submit the LHAP to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation for review and approval. Again, I just want to give a huge shout out to Diane Durr. She has been just absolutely phenomenal in the role she has with the city. She's working tirelessly with our residents to put our dollars to good use to help people within our community. And I would think Eric would agree. We can't say enough positive things about the work that Diane's doing. So thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong has questions.
Yes, I was wondering, city manager, if these are the same funds that in the past that we have allocated to the what used to be called Keystone.
So there is some work we will do with a third party. And Eric, please chime in if I get this wrong, but we're dealing with owner occupied rehabilitation. Keystone does not exist anymore. It's a different organization. And Diane is also working with a group called Guardian. That there is within the LHAP, it calls out for on the owner occupied rehab. There are project delivery costs that would be assigned to one of those third party providers that help secure, help solicit individuals that would need these services and then process that through. Eric, can you speak any further to that?
Yeah, so yeah, we used Keystone in the past. That organization dissolved and we entered into an agreement with Hands of Central Florida, who was providing those services for us. In the interim, there is an organization, Guardian, that it provides services in many Florida counties, actually. And so we're looking at possibly piggybacking on one of their existing agreements to bring them on board to utilize their services. They could help us with down payment assistance and some other of the strategies as well. We are blessed, though, that Diane has administered SHIP programs for other jurisdictions and is actually has a stack of applications and is processing them as we speak. So it will be a team effort between what Diane is able to do and then potentially bringing on a third party like Guardian.
Okay, I just got one final question. So once this is submitted and it's approved, we get the monies. Seems like in the past, we had seen as a commission some type of statistics that showed where our money exactly, how many units or how many, that sort of thing. So when and where will that process take place?
There's an annual report that is due in September. So Diane is putting that together as we speak. So that report will be shown to the commission then.
That will be for the fiscal year that just is ending.
Yeah, it's
So, and this is.
correct.
I'm asking about the fiscal year going forward. Will there be?
Each September.
Yes, each
so
September,
it'll be September.
yes, sir.
That's it.
Mr. Yates.
So just a couple points of clarification, the 20,000 maximum award that can be used towards down payment and or closing costs.
Sorry. On purchase assistance,
So on purchase assistance, which is category B,
What
the
page you
maximum
guys
award, it's on page 8 of the actual LHAP, which is exhibit A.
Right.
Item D denotes the maximum award for very low income, 50,000, including project delivery costs. This is on purchase assistance with or without rehabilitation. On low income, it's at 40,000, and on moderate income, it's at 30,000. Is that what you're referring to, Commissioner Yates?
No, so those are the categories in which the award can be given. The maximum award, as I read it, is $20,000.
that's on the next page for emergency
Page
repair.
9.
That's on emergency repair, category C. Emergency repairs.
Okay, so this is saying, okay, so I apologize. That's where I was trying to get this clarified. So
Yeah, let me just offer something on that. So on the owner occupied, which is category A. The maximum award, this is for owner occupied rehabilitation, maximum award is 40,000. Which includes project delivery costs. That could be any third party service that we would utilize. That's in a 5-year loan, which is forgivable based upon a 20% pro rata per year. And there's some stipulations within that if the person, if they sell the property, the person passes away and such. Second category is on purchase assistance. So again, 50,000 for very low income, 40,000 for low income, 30,000 for moderate income. That loan is again 5 years. It's forgiven on a prorated basis, 20%, the original principal. Again, some conditions with respect to the property is sold or if the loan recipient were to pass away. Emergency repairs, this is grant funds to mitigate code violations and repairs needed to address health and safety. Maximum award here is 20,000. That again includes project delivery costs. It is the repayment loan, deferred loan grant. So funds are awarded as a grant with no recapture terms. So that's a straight up, grant award. And then disaster mitigation. Again, the maximum award is 20,000. Funds awarded as a grant with no recapture terms.
And if someone wants to apply for this program, they come to the city of Winter Haven.
They reach out to Diane, and if we're using a third party to help with any of the processing, she will direct them accordingly. But right now, everything's going through her.
And is this being distributed to agencies such as EPCAR or any of the lending institutions locally? So they're aware, because that's where these consumers are going to go to first.
So I'm not aware if it's going to EPCAR. I can get with Diane, but she does have a strategy, a plan for marketing the program to the community. We're required by law to do an advertisement stating the availability of funds. I do know that she is working with a lot of the local churches to get the word out about the availability of funds, but I can get details on her plan for marketing the program for you.
And we're guaranteed these for the next 3. They can't. Can the state
Well,
legislature come in next year and say, "Oh, we don't want to we don't want to."
They can. So this is Sadowski funds, and we know that the Sadowski fund has been swept. In years past, there were years where we received no SHIP dollars. There's $613,000 and change in there this year. That is the forecasted revenues for to the city over the next 3 years, each year. But as with anything, it's going to be subject to legislative approval in Tallahassee. So that's why we continue every time we're there to really plead for the protection of the Sadowski fund.
Thank you.
Did you have something else,
Yeah,
Nat?
because I was just, I don't see how, I'm just trying to get my arms around, I don't see how we are administering it. When I look at the budget, what is it? It's intertwined in the departments. I just don't see how you're gonna spend the money. That's my question, without that third party.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we have.
I mean, that's
what we've
all
done.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just the workload alone is significant. And just even to be able to solicit and get the word out for people to apply. That's why we depended upon Keystone in the past. So that remains part of our strategy, and it's factored into the plan that you have those project management costs with it.
Okay, yeah, the only category that I see that it's not program related is this other, and I don't know what that is. What's the other in this budget? On page, what page is Exhibit A?
So the other, hit the $55,807. Is the, bear with me. It's defined as the project delivery costs that are outside of administrative costs. See, we're able to use admin funds to pay for consulting fees, project delivery. I believe, Eric, if you can correct me on this, I believe that is the set aside that we have. You can have a percent that goes towards our staffing cost within this, which I believe is 5%. And that's where that comes in.
Yeah, there's a total of 10% that can be used for admin costs.
I'll have to get clarification.
Yeah, I'll have to
on
get
that for you, Mayor
clarification.
Pro Tem.
I-
I've gone through, I've gone
You
through
know,
this in detail.
with
but I
what you
don't have
just
that.
said, T, I'm just looking at it again. If you do 10% of 613,000, it is that it's pretty close to the $61,307 of admin. So that's us. So,
We'll confirm that for.
okay.
Sir.
You got some else?
Sorry,
Yep,
sorry
go
for
ahead.
another question.
Okay, Right.
So on the home buyer portion, maybe I'm missing it, but do we require any kind of home buyer class to be eligible to receive?
That's
the
section,
funds?
that's in.
Yes.
That's one of my questions, section K, letter K on page 4.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
If we're doing down payment assistance, they have to attend one of those homeowner
Okay,
classes.
gotcha.
Homeownership
Sorry. It's a
council.
little discombobulated
Yeah.
in here. so- But okay, I'm good.
So you got something else?
I'm good.
I got a couple of questions, and I'm sorry I wasn't here for the agenda review, or I'd have done this then, but first question is for John. John, does this become we pass this, does this become a working document that we have to adhere to the letter, or is there some wiggle room, or is it to the letter of the law, or I know you're not going to give me any wiggle room probably, but what does that mean exactly? Because I've got a few questions here.
Mayor, I would suggest that we follow the plan. in
Is it
accordance-
spirit of the law or the letter of the law?
I-
I've learned to ask that question.
I think we would follow it to the letter to the extent that we can.
Okay.
And if there are exigencies or situations arise during the implementation of the plan, we can address them. But I think my best advice would be that you follow the plan as it is articulated and approved by you all.
So exhibit A is really what we're voting for. That's the
That's
document.
correct. You're voting for the resolution, which approves Exhibit A and
Yeah.
authorizes you as the mayor to sign and certify to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. Remember, they're gonna oversee it and look at it and make sure that it's consistent with their parameters.
So did Diane write exhibit A, or was that,
Yes.
we wrote this?
Yes.
Yes, and what they do is they have a preliminary review with Florida Housing. They have seen this and they have signed off saying that our LHAP is okay in their eyes. And as I look at Exhibit A closer, the first page, that is a summary of the administrative costs. So the 61,307 is 10% of our allocation. And so that's an estimation of how we intend to spend those funds. The other likely would be a portion of Diane's salary.
Okay, so hang in there with me, Eric. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. Let's go to page 4 real quick. Section K, this is what Commissioner Yates was just talking about. What I'm trying to understand is how is we as an organization, you as the tip of the spear of this organization that's going to do this, how are you going to offer home ownership counseling, pre and post, credit counseling, tenant counseling, foreclosure counseling, and transportation the way we are currently organized? Or do you already intend to farm this out to somebody?
We will have a third party do that.
And that'll be like Hartford, Winter Haven, 'cause they're
Correct.
here,
Keystone did that for us.
but they're not here.
I would
anymore.
suspect the Guardian or another third party agency will do
Or
that.
is
for us. We-
Keystone still here? Are they still?
Hands of Central Florida.
It's hands of Central Florida.
And they're prepared to offer all these services,
Yes,
as far as you know.
there are a number of third party agencies that do this.
There are
Yes, sir.
in town or just.
Yeah, they're certified. Actually, they get certified through Florida Housing as a CHODO, which is the housing counselor,
Okay,
and they're able to do that.
and they're competing for that 10% that we have. That's what we're paying them. All right, so section L, does the US Treasury Department determine what's 90% of the price established in the US? How does the US Treasury get involved with pricing of homes? I'm just curious, because it looks to me like the US Treasury is going to establish a sales price not to exceed 90%. And to me, with the realtors that I have in my family, the various sales prices has gone up dramatically. If we have to buy a house at 90% less than that to even qualify for this. That's going to be a difficult challenge, I would think. But I'm just trying to understand how the US Treasury, how it would be like a local realtors, or help me understand that. Is that Anybody, not just you, Eric, I'm asking anybody, my commissioners, is this the way it normally is, or?
I would assume this would not. There's housing of X cost and there's housing of Y costs and there's housing of B costs. So a low to moderate income borrower is not going to be looking necessarily at the X and Y. They're going to look at the A price, which would then be most likely 90% or less at the average sales price.
And
Right.
the other thing is in the past, now I don't know how it's going to work in the future, but in the past, that's what Keystone has done. They actually built the houses. And, and so basically the houses, all of this other stuff that's in here was taken care of because they basically guaranteed the price of the houses. They were all inclusive. And so, in fact, the report that we usually get would actually show how this money was divvied up and what was given and how many people were served and that sort of thing. So I'm just saying, and that's what I just was wondering because I didn't know where we were now that I know that Keystone is out of business.
Yeah, I
So-
can tell you that in years past, this is the methodology that we have used in previous LHAPs.
This is standard nomenclature. This is,
Yes.
you're
Yes, sir.
used to using this and Diane knows how to use that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go to page 6. Couple of questions here. I think it's home. Let me see, where is the, okay, section U is the green effort. And I'm all about the green effort, but go down the very bottom. City will utilize Energy Star rated products to need installation replacing. The city will also employ green building requirements on rehabs and emergency repairs. So if we have a hurricane or we have an emergency repair, they're gonna have to automatically comply with the green initiative that this is complying with here in letter U. Says we're going to encourage and promote innovative designs, including green building components, storm resistant doors and windows, dedicated products and other features that cause and reduce the cost of home maintenance, lower the cost, blah, blah, blah. I guess what I'm a little uncomfortable was if we have a emergency repair and they got to come back to a green building. That was one of my questions, John, about letter of the law versus intent. Our intent is to do green stuff, but if we have an emergency situation and we have to go find, cedar planks instead of pine planks because of something, how are we going to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we probably will do what we can to comply with those things. And if there's inability to comply with it, then we have to demonstrate that to some reasonable justification. I would
Well, you can
imagine.
build a green building. It costs more and it takes a long time to build to get the stuff you need. So if we're having an emergency situation and we can't find the green building supplies, that could be a potential issue for us, maybe.
And I think that among other things, when we do ultimately contract with the vendor that will provide most of these administrative services, they will hopefully have strategies in place. We're not recreating the wheel here. This is a standard contract, if you will, for certifications that are in almost, I would imagine, all local governments that administer these funds that are coming from the state. So I would imagine that there are strategies in place to address that issue.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just add this along with what the city attorney said. You think emergency repairs, I've had a tree fall through my ceiling. So I'm replacing ceiling decking, roof decking, and shingles. The ability to be green within that. It's going to be what the industry has available, which is, we're bringing in a roofer to make that repair, and it's just designated, has to be of a green building product material, something that is environmentally, beneficial. I have windows that need to be replaced, so maybe they're old single pane windows and now they're and replaced with double pane windows that are insulated differently. I think that the level of work that falls within emergency repair is relatively limited. So how the green building aspect folds into that is very manageable.
Okay, I just don't want us, because of something that we put in here
Right,
to make us feel good or whatever, not necessarily make us feel good, all of a sudden comes back and bite us when we have a hurricane and we got 15 people lining up that need money and we can't get environmentally sensitive shingles. You know, we can get asphalt shingles, but we can't get the ones that, you know, that fit this criteria. So,
and I would even say that that the way that is worded, if you want to go by the letter of the law, that speaks to emergency repair and rehab. It does not speak to disaster mitigation. Right.
okay. Thank you, John. I mean, Mike. All right, I'm almost done. Unless you got something, Eric, were you trying to say something? No, on the letter W, this speaks to Hartford Winter Haven. That's what I was trying to get to a minute ago. We have committed money to Hartford Winter Haven. Does that mean that we can maybe pull some of the ship money and give that to Hartford as part of our commitment to them? Or is this additional to them? Or how do you guys interpret that particular section and the fact that we've actually listed Hartford Winter Haven in here? Which I don't want to take them out, but I'm just saying, is that Scribner errors?
No, I think it just describes what we're doing separately. You
But
know,
does that allow us to use some of the ship money that maybe potentially?
If they were an income eligible person with an income, if it was somebody that for Winter Haven was helping, for example, that was previously homeless. And now they have a stable income and they're looking for a permanent residence, they could apply for SHIP program funds for down payment assistance. Yes. So one of the things we're required to do in an LHAP is to talk about some of our other initiatives and programs that we're endeavoring in this area of affordable housing. And so that's why that's in there. But yes, if somebody is able to get a loan, if they're able to qualify for a loan,
Okay,
they could utilize SHIP funds.
okay.
Mike, I just hate that we're singling out one entity because they're not the only entity that works with homelessness. So should it read such as Hartford Winter Haven?
Well, I think this is.
To me, that
In the general context of this entire document, I think that I wouldn't get too worked up around the verbiage in this particular paragraph. It's simply an effort to describe things we've done to reduce homelessness. I don't think it's to the exclusion of other things. So I think you can feel comfortable that this is something that we have done, but it doesn't mean that there aren't others out there. And to the extent that this has any bearing on anything, I think it can be supplemented if we think there's a necessity to do so. But again, I think this is probably more descriptive.
yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to pick it apart, but we had a long meeting Wednesday night and only, we weren't all available Wednesday night, so we didn't really get to hash a lot of this out, but just. Yeah.
So if you read this section W, it is asking us to describe efforts to reduce homelessness. Hence, Hartford Winter Haven has been identified within that because our efforts to reduce homelessness have been targeted specifically with Hartford Winter Haven. So that is what we have been doing. That is who is at the table today. If we were to do the LHAP a year from now, and we had other folks that were engaged in our efforts to address homelessness, then they likely would be listed as well. A lot of this is in response to questions that you're required to answer as part of the LHAP.
And I also think if you look, Commissioner Yates, you also can see the city has other areas that it is looking at, other long-term bases that are described, such as implementing land use and zoning modifications to accommodate more flexible housing types, and also in the process of developing more low-income housing. So I think it's just more of a descriptive thing that city managers characterize correctly. It's a requirement to answer a question. Doesn't mean it can't be.
It's the devil's in the details.
So wait, John, you didn't finish. It doesn't mean we can't change it. Is that what you're about to
Doesn't
say?
mean that it doesn't
Okay.
mean that we can't employ other methods. We can work with whatever agencies we want. In fact, I would encourage you to the extent they're already available, that the applicant or the person that gets the funds is not Hartford Winter Haven. It's not the agency, it's the homeowner. So to the extent we can engage with any number of different entities to assist in the homeless effort, that's probably a very worthy effort.
And I would only add for the discussion that we're required to do this every 3 years, but this can be amended. We can, in fact, a couple of years ago, we did it. It's a fairly short process. It's called a technical amendment. If there's something in our LHAP that is prohibiting us from doing something that is eligible, under the statutes, we can process a technical amendment to our LHAP. Usually takes about a week,
Okay,
and the state can approve that.
I'm okay then.
I just want to make it. Elizabeth,
That's what I was asking.
Well, I think that's, I didn't
I mean,
think
we
quite
can-
as artfully as Eric did. but,
If we can fix it, and,
Yeah,
but I know we could, because it's got to go to the state and they got to read it and it becomes.
But not only that, Brett, this is not very much money. When it's a lot more than what we've gotten in previous years, but this is not going to serve a whole lot of people. I want you to know that too. This is not going to serve a whole lot of people because it's not a lot of money.
It's not, but I think when we go to pass something, we got to have a clear understanding, like the mayor indicated. Is it the spirit of the law or is it the letter of the law? And I don't want to operate in this. John wants to operate in the letter.
well,
I
that's
think
why
we
we
like-
did amendments. So
we
that
like-
the spirit
Yeah,
should
we
be
could amend
memorialized in a
the
letter. So let's not get too wrapped up on
Yeah.
it.
Well, like, but back to item K, page 4, where I asked about, is a home counseling certificate required? Well, it's not required,
You're correct.
but any other program like this, a home ownership certificate would be required to participate to receive these kind of funds.
But there's a whole nother aspect to this that I'm not prepared to address that I don't know. But there may be, as it's implemented, there may be practices that this industry follows where they absolutely require that. Even though the document doesn't say that exact verbiage, it may be that Diane and who Guardian or whoever we might contract with, they may, as a matter of course, just require that.
But if I'm applying for this tells me I don't have to take that,
I
whether you
don't
tell
think it
me I
says you
do
don't
or not.
have to. I think it
It
just says,
says may include.
right, and they may include that as a requirement. That's how I would read it.
If I'm the applicant, I'm not reading it that way.
Well,
So what I'm gathering, this is a living document.
like everything else, it doesn't,
Well, the Constitution's not,
it doesn't rest in stone.
Depends on who you ask.
right?
Yeah.
I'm
But-
teasing it a little bit for some part, but
No, I think those are valid points, and I think Commissioner Yates, that's spot on. The devil's in the details.
and for those in the audience, I would have done this at the Virginia review, but I wasn't here, so that's why I'm doing this
So
tonight.
would I have, I would have.
So that's why I'm bringing this up tonight. I apologize, but I just
Keep
wanted to get
y'all
a couple
here.
of things answered.
I would like to just thank the commissioners for being as well versed on the LHAP as you are.
That's good.
Well,
When you can pick out specific points within specific sections of this document, that should be a testament to those that elected you, that you do your homework.
just read the document. It's easy.
Right.
So it's not,
It was
it was very well written.
It's all in how you interpret it.
And it was written well. You can please tell Diane, we're not complaining. I just trying to. And I'm gonna tell you, if we do a good job on this, there will be more money. And if we do a poor job, there won't be more money.
That's correct.
So we've got to, like Mayor Pro Tem Herzog said, this is not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money. And
Yeah, and we've done a
all we
good
have to do is screw it up and we won't get any more.
Yeah, but we've done a good job.
Okay. All right,
Mayor,
I need a motion.
move approval of resolution R 2336.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve R 2336. I will close the city commission meeting and open the public hearing. Anybody want to speak to this item? Please do so at this time. Please come forward and give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Jack Zelsman, Winter Haven, address on Lake Howard. The devil's in the details of any of the things you do. And if you're not solid in what you do, you take 613 or whatever it is, thousands of dollars, and you blow it and ruin the whole thing. So I suggest you table it till you get best information, get all the details hammered out before you come, people.
Anybody else? Okay, I will close the public hearing, open the city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions, comments? You have a motion on the floor?
I think it is at the end of the day, an excellent program, and I don't want to delay the funds from coming to become available for the people that need it. And so since we have the flexibility to tighten a screw or loosen a screw in this, I think we're headed in the right direction, and there are people out there that need these funds, and we need to make sure that we bring them to the city to make them available.
And truth be known, what I'm hearing from Eric, this is a lot of standard language that we've had used before. It's nothing, we're not reinventing the wheel here. And the city attorney shaking his head, yes, so.
Correct.
All right, I'll go along with that, so. Okay, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Okay, on to R 2337, establishing an auditor selection committee, appointing members and related matters. City attorney, would you by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R 23-37, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, establishing an auditor selection committee in accordance with section 218.391 of the Florida statutes and appointing members to serve thereon and providing for related matters, providing for severability, the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager?
Mayor Commissioners, our current external auditor contract with Clifton Larson Allen expired at the conclusion of the September 30th, 2022 fiscal year end audit. Resolution is necessary to establish the auditor selection committee as required under Florida statutes, commonly referred to as the auditor selection law. Required composition of the auditor selection committees defines that at a minimum, it must consist of at least 3 members. 1 member of the audit selection committee must be a current member of the commission and shall serve as the chair of that committee. In addition, the statute states that an employee, CEO, or CFO may not serve as a member of the auditor selection committee, but may serve as an advisory capacity. That auditor selection committee shall establish factors to be used in the evaluation of the audit services, publicly announce requests for proposals, provide interested firms with an RFP, evaluate the RFP that's provided by the firms, and then rank and recommend in order of preference no fewer than 3 firms that are deemed to be most highly qualified to perform the services. Term of the selection committee will be from the date of appointment until dissolution, which happens upon them submitting their recommendation to the commission. Staff would like to recommend the following be appointed to the city by the city commission for this committee. Commissioner Tracy Mercer to serve as chair of the committee. Harry Hap Hazelwood to serve as a citizen member, and Steve Chrisman to serve as a citizen member. The chief city CFO, CJ Scott, will serve in his advisory capacity. The solicitation and RFP development will be overseen in addition with our procurement office. Staff recommends the commission adopt resolution R 2337, establishing the auditor selection committee and authorizing the city manager and city attorney and other appropriate city officials to take all further and necessary actions related thereto. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve resolution R 23-37.
Thank you. A motion to approve R 2337. I'll close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. You're open city commission meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. 11C on your agenda is R 2338, amendment number 2, the state revolving loan fund. City attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R 23-38, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, related to the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan Agreement for project DW 531340, providing for the incorporation of recitals, providing for approvals of amendment number 2 to the loan agreement, and authorizing the execution of amendment number 2 to the loan agreement, providing for legal authority and the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager.
Mayor Commissioners, almost 3 years ago now, the city and the DEP entered into an agreement for state revolving fund loan for planning activities associated with our One Water Master Plan. Amendment 2 closes the planning activities to complete the One Water Master Plan agreement and sets the final loan amount and repayment schedule. Semi-annual loan payment schedule has been reduced from $54,257 to $42,098.34. Payments will be due May 15th and November 15th of each year. Staff recommends the commission approve Amendment 2 with DEP State Revolving Fund loan for the planning activities associated with One Water Master Plan, and authorize the mayor and other city officials to execute the same, and authorize the city manager designated to take further necessary actions related thereto. Just one point of because we'll have another one of these that comes up. There are 2 of these loans that we did through SRF that pertain to the One Water Master Plan. This is the drinking water fund bucket that we drew from. So the next one will be on the clean water side.
Okay.
Just so I didn't want you to be confused by that.
Thank you, commissioners.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve resolution R 23 38.
Thank you. We have motion to approve R 2338. I'll close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. 11D R 2339, this is amendment number 2, state revolving fund agreement 531350. City attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R 23-39, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, related to the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan Agreement for project WW 531350, providing for the incorporation of recitals, providing for approvals of amendment number 2 to the loan agreement, and authorizing the execution of amendment number 2 to the loan agreement, providing for legal authority and the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, as I mentioned, this is a similar action to the one you just passed. This pertains to the Clean Water SRF. In this case, semi-annual loan payment schedule has been reduced from $25,500 to $19,548.16. Again, payments are due May 15th and November 15th of each year. We're recommending the commission approve amendment 2 with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection State Revolving Fund loan for the planning activities associated with One Water Master Plan, authorizing the mayor and other city officials to execute amendment number 2 and authorize the city manager or designee to take all further necessary actions related thereto. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Move approval of resolution R 2339.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve R 2339. I'll close city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Invite to the public like to speak to this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Ordinance first reading, O 2349. This is relating to the panhandle and solicitations. City attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O 23-49, an ordinance of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, relating to the use of property, repealing the public solicitation ordinance, ordinance number O 16-05, codified in sections 15-370 through 15-378 and 15-381 through 15-384 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida. Pardon me, enacting sections 15-385 through 15-390 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, providing for a short title, adopting the substantive provisions of Polk County Ordinance 2023-030 relating to dangerous uses of the public rights of way, restating, amending, and reenacting prohibitions against solicitation, canvassing, and panhandling on private property without the permission of the owner, codifying such restated, amended, and reenacted laws in new sections 13-400 through 15-400 through 15-409 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, and providing for a short title, enacting section 15-420 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, providing for a short title, articulating legislative intent, prohibiting sitting or lying on public sidewalks and the entryways of public buildings in such a manner so as to obstruct the free passage of persons, providing exceptions, amending section 2-63 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, relating to the jurisdiction of the code enforcement special master, providing for severability, repealing conflicting ordinances and resolutions, providing for codification, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date. Thank you.
All right, city manager, you got anything you want to add or
Yeah.
a lot?
Yeah, let me try and offer some insights on this one. Certainly the city attorney can provide a lot more background. So the Winter Haven's public solicitation ordinance, which was adopted in 2016, currently prohibits solicitation, panhandling, and canvassing within traveled portions of a public street and on medians. This ordinance 2349 would accomplish the following. First, it would repeal the existing ordinance in its entirety. Second, it would adopt the recent Polk County Board of County Commissioners ordinance relating to dangerous uses of public rights of way as an enforceable provision of the city's code. Third, it would reenact the city's prohibition on solicitation, panhandling, or canvassing in, on, or about private property. And that's defined to include any public property that is leased to a private entity or licensed to a private entity for its exclusive use, such as our sidewalk cafes that will be coming online in the very near future, sidewalk marketplaces, special events, or any leased portion of a public parking garage. Fourth, it would enact a sit-lie prohibition on public sidewalks during heavily traveled hours, which are defined as 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and prohibit obstructing the entryways and exits to and from public buildings during hours that such buildings are open for access and use by the public, by members of the public. John, I'm going to ask if there's anything additional that you want to add into that with case law that has
Thank you.
necessitated these changes.
Thank you. And you may recall in October of last year, we had a presentation, Director of Public Safety, Chief of Police presented an update on the status of where the law was and different things that are happening as it relates to judicial decisions relating to ordinances of this type. And we reported to you that there are a couple of cases that we've been following. I think, Mayor, you also noted a case that is also we are following. And so these changes that we're recommending to you tonight are so as to allow our code and our local ordinances relating to this subject matter to be what we understand compliant and address some of the judicial decisions that have been rendered and that could be rendered so that it will be constitutionally correct and that it will be defendable and enforceable to the extent it were ever challenged. So that's what we're proposing to do. We are adopting the recent, as the city manager said, Polk County ordinance, which has gone through a great deal of review and is something that is very clear. And it allows for our law enforcement in conjunction with other, the sheriff's office and others to have effective tools to help address safety of the traveling public in our roadways. Also, it does allow for us to address some additional issues regarding sitting and lying in public rights of way that are obstructing entrances, perhaps to the library or to maybe City Hall or to Nora Mayo Hall or a public building or public facility that is in use. And so I think this is helpful to do that. We're narrowly tailoring it. So there are some exceptions, but we're trying to make it so that it's as narrowly tailored as possible so as to provide clear direction, so as not to be vague and to withstand judicial scrutiny in the event that were ever the case. So we've been looking at this for some time and we're now recommending that we do move forward with this effort at the Wednesday work session. I noted that there have been some recent efforts which are in the nature of public records and First Amendment auditing that have occurred in the area that have, are fine, certainly lawful. And, just emphasizes our desire to want to move forward with this in this manner now. Obviously, this will come back for a second reading and public hearing at the August 14th regular city commission meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm trying to understand the elements. So in our city, we have a lot of people on corners holding signs and walking, panhandling. So how does this affect that?
Well, this ordinance will address the presence of individuals within certain stated categories of streets and certain medians and areas of streets and allow for it to be uniformly applied, if you will, based on the category or type of street that's present. One of the things that this does do, which is noted in the fact sheet, is you may recall in 2016, we had an aggressive panhandling prohibition. Where we didn't allow people near ATM machines or bus stops or in the public parking garage. Those types of restrictions or regulations have been pretty largely held to be unconstitutional by the courts that have considered them. And so we're taking those out of our code because we don't want to be challenged, obviously, and lose on something that has been judicially ruled as not appropriate. So we're in regards to your question, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'll defer to the public safety team. But I think what we're doing is we're adopting the Polk County ordinance in its entirety as it relates to solicitation on roads and rights of way and streets, so that we can have effective tools to ensure the safety of the traveling public, both in our streets and on our sidewalks.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd add in there that within section 15387 of the ordinance, it speaks to solicitation that occurs, I think within we say the right of way, predominantly we're talking about within the median area where you can't be out in the roadway, but it also does speak to engaging in any physical interaction between a pedestrian and an occupant of a motor vehicle. So when there is interaction that's occurring, someone is soliciting funds and receiving donations from someone inside the vehicle, that would be a violation of that section as well.
Okay, I'm just curious because I don't know, people in here would also know that if you ride around this city on any given morning, you're going to see people on at major intersections. I mean, I'm talking about 17 and MLK. I'm talking about Cypress Gardens Boulevard and First Street. I mean, those, and if you go on down to the next traffic light there, it's, I guess it's 6th Street and Cypress Gardens Boulevard. I mean, I'm just saying. And then even at First Street and MLK over in Florence Village, the same thing. And it's a variety of people. It's just not Panhandle that is homeless. Well, I don't know if they're homeless, but that's what they're saying. But then you have organizations that come to our city from other cities soliciting donations for their causes. And I'm saying, so I'm just, right.
Yeah, I think the way I would categorize this, and as city manager has noted, you have prohibitions on the medians. And you have to provide, you can allow people to be in the medians if they consider it to be a sufficient pedestrian refuge. And that's something that would be recognized.
And I don't think we have any that fall within the 15-foot
Right.
category that is defined within this
Well,
ordinance.
that's what I'm.
We may not. And then the other issue is the stopping or standing or engaging in a physical interaction in the moving lanes of traffic, where you step off of the sidewalk and you start interacting with someone in a car that's in the moving lane of traffic. So I think we're trying to address that as well, those two scenarios, among others. And then, of course, the exceptions in page 6 of the ordinance, as the city manager was pointing out, is those are things that can still be done that this ordinance is not prohibiting. And again, this follows the code almost verbatim as to the as what Polk County adopted in April of 2023. So I feel very comfortable that it's been legally scrubbed and that it will hopefully be a viable ordinance until the court makes the next decision.
You got something on the first hit. Is it just a warning at that point? Are they issued a citation?
Well, the penalties on a first offense, it notes on page 7 that a civil fine of up to a maximum of $25. Second offense, civil fine up to $50. Third and subsequent offense, maximum penalty of 60 days in jail, up to $500 fine. I think that knowing our public safety team, I mean, I don't want to speak for Chief Brandon and his folks, but I would think that, they see somebody soliciting, for things like this. I believe our approach should be, let's educate before we enforce and make sure that this is a new ordinance. Certainly, I don't see a whole lot of folks here this evening that are probably the folks that we see out panhandling and canvassing and soliciting. They may be who's tuned in on YouTube tonight, I'm not sure. But all things considered, I think we would do some education first before we would start citing them, and then we would follow up with, repeat offenders.
Yeah,
So
because I see children
That's my point.
soliciting with adults sitting there, and that's just, I cringe.
basically what this is
That
doing.
sort of thing.
Basically what this is doing is it's addressing career panhandling. If you fall down on your luck and you need a hand, you're probably gonna go out and do whatever you can to try to do, put some food on the table. But you're not gonna do that day in and day out. And that's what we see the most of out there on our streets is the same guys, same people. They'll bring their kids out there so they get the sympathy. It's just, it's horrible. And there are spots for those individuals to go for help. And I just think that they're preying on our citizens. And I think this is.
Well, I think this gives us certainly some defendable approaches to address those situations. I think that, you make a good point, Commissioner Yates, Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong, both that, these are a lot of times these are folks that need some assistance, and there's also those that are the career professionals at this. I would feel confident in saying that if it's people that are experiencing a short-term situation and need some and are willing to accept some assistance, our public safety and law enforcement team is certainly prepared and educated to provide that to them. It's when they don't want that and they find that this is the best way to earn income, that we've got to make some amends to that. And really, it's about keeping people safe. I mean, if you think about the folks that are at Cypress Gardens at First Street, as Mayor Pro Tem said, they are standing on the side of the road. Maybe they are, on the northbound lanes coming out of Chick-fil-A, but if you drive down Cypress Gardens Boulevard, they're standing on a 3 to 4 foot, maybe best wide median strip between traffic that's flying.
So you got, my point is this, I got a couple of points. First of all, I'm always about the human condition here, and I want to make sure that whatever we pass, we're not doing some sort of unintended consequence that's going to particularly affect the kids. That's what I'm after right now. We're not going to, and I'm looked at this from every which way. And it bothers me when somebody's out there with all the car fumes and 40-mile-an-hour vehicles and they have a child with them, or 2 or 3, pulling on the heartstrings and trying to get money. And who knows if they're even their kids or not, I don't know. But that's not for me to decide. My situation is we've got to figure out a way to protect the kids. And I like this because this seems like this will give our police officers at least something else they can rely on to help protect the kids. And the other thing, like Commissioner Yates said, I know who most of the homeless people are downtown. I speak to them and I know who they are, and they're part of our community in a way, but it's the ones that sit out on the roads that are kind of running out and out of traffic that are just creating a problem. And for themselves and for people in the vehicles. And if they have kids, I don't know what the answer is, but I guess I'm comfortable with this because the county's doing it. Oh, and is the county, so the sheriff would be talking about like county roads and our police officer would be talking about city roads. Is that how it works,
No,
Charlie?
I think it's just city jurisdiction. The city will be enforcing it and the county sheriff will be enforcing it.
But like, for example, if it's a big intersection where it's not in the city limits, our guys don't have the ability to go in there and do anything. They'd have to call the sheriff.
It's in the unincorporated area.
And by
If
the
there's
fact,
immediate danger or something going on, I would think that any jurisdiction, we're gonna, whoever, you see something wrong, you're gonna deal with it. Where there's immediate danger to life and property, but it's Snively Avenue in US 17.
That's one of them.
Unincorporated area.
that's not our jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
But the point being is the fact that the county has passed this, does that automatically mean the sheriff's fully involved now, or does he have to pass?
Yes, in fact, I had a conversation for your, just for your own
Okay,
information, with Ann Gibson, Chief Legal Counsel for Sheriff Judd. And she was, she and I coordinated, she provided me along with the county attorney, this Polk County ordinance. She was delighted that we were moving forward with this. I plan to have a discussion with her and send her a copy of the ordinance once it's adopted. And she worked very hard on, in conjunction with the county attorney's office. Sheriff Judd instructed her to do this. And so she was very proud of this effort. And so, yes, and also very happy that Winter Haven was engaging in.
so are we the only ones doing this, or is the
No.
county kind of doing this with everybody?
I think the county's doing this. This will be effective in all jurisdictions, to include municipalities that don't have contrary regulations on the books.
Okay,
So, for example, the town of Dundee, where I'm also the attorney, they don't have anything on their books. Well, they happen to have the sheriff as their municipal law enforcement.
right.
So the county ordinance will be effective within the town of Dundee.
Mhm.
City of Winter Haven, we have a provision in our books that was different. So that's why we're going along and we're parroting what the county has.
So potentially, any potential lawsuit or what we may be passing here would probably, maybe I was gonna sue, they'd sue the county because they got bigger pockets, or would they sue us?
I
Who would
think
Who would they go
I
after?
think to the extent that it happens in the city of Winter Haven, we get sued. So I think that's just how that works, but
There's also advocacy in the number of
Yeah.
folks that are tied in with it, that
Right.
if you're gonna challenge an ordinance in Winter Haven that is the same as what is in the county that is supported by the sheriff, then
Yeah.
you're not standing in that well alone.
And and City of Mulberry also contracts with the sheriff to provide municipal services. They've adopted this ordinance as well. So
Chief, it's Officer Bouge that works downtown, right? And then it's, what's his, Bougie? What's his name? Bougie.
Officer Boge is he's our dare officer. Officer Mendes is our
Mendes,
CRA.
That's within the back.
If he hears this, I'm sorry. I know your name.
He's
I just
standing in the
forgot.
back of the room right
Okay,
now.
sorry.
He's taking notes for your next.
It's
party.
a white,
Yeah.
it's a white Tesla.
Well, since he's here, does he like this? Does he think this is a good idea? I mean, do your people like this? Is this something you want us to pass? I mean, I want to hear it from you guys on the ground.
What this is really dealing with is safety, and that's one of the biggest that y'all been discussing up here all night is a safety issue. And that's the main thing we're looking at. We've been very fortunate so far that we haven't had anything occur, but we can't keep hoping for that. And this addresses those safety issues that we need to address for people standing in the medians. There have been times when I've been driving out towards Highway 27 on the weekend. And as Mayor Pro Tem said, you'll see kids out there, soliciting, it might be for something, and we'll have an officer go out there and get with the parents who usually are standing on the sidewalk and tell them they can't, they need to move because it's just unsafe, and we can do that. And we've had some agreements with DOT, but this just gives us better ways to do it, plus the tiered approach of, it's not straight going to arrestable offense, but you go to the special magistrate and they can assign a fine. Or even in the past, they've even done like community service, those things, and they have to come back and show that they followed up and done what they're supposed to.
This, by us doing this, is going to give you more tools in your tool chest to help a very complex problem, or is that oversimplifying my analysis, or?
Now, I would say it's oversimplifying. It's another tool for us to use to help keep everybody safe.
But this is not going to cause an insurrection with your rank and file. They don't want this, or they think this is fine, or they like, I'm just, because I've not talked to anybody about it. So that's why I just want to know what the people, we pass stuff up here all the time, and we don't really know what it means to you guys that have to.
This
Well-
was developed in conjunction, Mayor, with the police chief and with the director of public.
Okay.
Health. I didn't.
No, I'm not crazy, T. I'm just trying to understand.
But I also wanted you to know that we didn't just create this out of whole cloth. We participated fully with the police chief and with the department on evaluating this and making sure that it was something that they could live with and that they wanted.
Okay. I would have asked all these questions last week if I had been here. So it's all good.
I'm just happy to see it, because I've actually witnessed a young kid, 16 years old, killed at First Street and Avenue R in the meeting. A 16-year-old.
Tracy, you got something?
like I said, at the workshop, I had asked the question, because I had some concerns about the first episode of that you would get a fine for that. I feel better if they were warned, but it's just, I guess that you don't want them to at least do that on the first one, it may be their first time ever, and they may have had something happen in their life that they were trying to get some quick money. I'd hate to think they had to pay a fine with $25 for doing that. And that may have been their first time, but I understand that. So the chief explained it,
Okay.
what would happen. But
Is this,
yeah.
is this like basically act one of a bunch of acts, or is this gonna be, yeah, are we gonna try to do more? Or is this all we need to do? What's your thing?
Right now, this, I would say that, I mean, I can't speak for the future, but this is what we need to do right now. So we
Okay.
can start working on these issues and get the safety back. Especially with the construction that's going on Cypress Gardens Boulevard now. And that's going to be ongoing. I know everybody sees, we see a few regulars that are walking up and down there. And it's just a matter of time for, we want to make sure nothing happens.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, good discussion. We'll take this up in 2 weeks on August 14th. Next is 02350 amending chapter 2, article 5, section 2-43. City Attorney, would you read by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-23-50, an ordinance amending chapter 2, article Roman numeral 5, section 2-143 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, by revising the definition for the canvassing board for all city municipal elections, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, codification, and the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
The manager?
Mayor and Commissioner, section 62 of the charter provides the city commission will make necessary arrangements for holding all municipal elections in Winter Haven. City manager and city attorney have recommended that the commission of Winter Haven amend section 2-143 of chapter 2, article Roman numeral 5 of the Code of Ordinances to revise the definition for canvassing board in order to add up to 2 alternate members. Bear with me 1 second when we get to the actual ordinance. So the canvassing board means the city commission, and what we're proposing to add to that is and up to 2 alternate members in the event that a city commissioner is unable to serve on the canvassing board for any reason. 2 alternate members of the canvassing board shall be the city clerk or his or her designee, and the city manager or his or her designee. In the event any such alternate members are necessary, the commission shall by oral motion at a duly called city commission meeting designate the same at least 30 days prior to municipal election.
Commissioners, questions or comments on the title? Okay, we'll pick this up on 814. New business establishing the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 millage rate. City attorney. All right, I don't need city attorney. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. We have done budget briefings in the recent weeks, and we had done a presentation to the commission last Wednesday. So what I'd like to do this evening is give a very high-level presentation on some of the items. AJ, are our slides ready for this? Thank you. So, and we have copies of the slide, the full slide presentation available for you. If they have not been received already, they may be in your box in the office. Next slide. All right, I guess I can drive it. Can I not? No, I cannot. Oh, there it goes. I got it. Thank you. So again, our budget is built around our strategic pillars, really focusing on what our performance metrics and our data will show us in the areas of quality of life, community safety, infrastructure, responsible government, environmental stewardship, and economic sustainability. Certainly a lot of the things that we've discussed this evening fall right within these, so you can see how these apply to the various actions we have when we talk about quality of life, economic sustainability, and responsible government. Certainly what we're doing with our SHIP and our LHAP program falls within that. When we talk about panhandling and those related matters, community safety certainly falls within that. So there's just a number of ways that you can look at this with the services that we provide. Our budget highlights is that we have a budget that is balanced at the current millage rate of 6.59 mils. Our property values did increase in fiscal year, going into fiscal year 23-24. We expect that will continue to see some increase in our property values over the next year. I don't know that I would anticipate them to be at the same level that they are this year. As we start to see, it really takes new projects coming online and getting their certificates of occupancy for that to happen. I would anticipate that in future years, as we see some of the larger developments at the ILC come online, that will certainly have a significant impact on ad valorem. But once a building gets its CO, it's almost 2 years before you realize the revenues off of that. So, but we are seeing good positive growth. A lot of it, in the past year, we did see a lot of single family residential. This year going forward, we're seeing a lot more multifamily, less single family, although we're still seeing a lot of single family, but there's definitely a focus on multifamily and commercial that we're seeing now. CRAs are also performing well, 3.2 million in the downtown district, 1.1 million in the Florence Villa district. Our budget does include the $250,000 allocation for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It does include a 2.5% step for employees, which is budgeted in accordance with our step plan. It does include a cost of living adjustment for our employees to help address retention, recruitment, and just general economic hardships. There we do have a weighted focus on public safety that I'll talk about in a moment. And then our positions this year will end up being 692 total positions. Of that, that is an increase of 13 new full-time over the current year and 2 new part-time. Total budget proposed for fiscal year 24 is $257,001,165. That does include allowances and factors in if we should have to borrow any money for any projects such as the Pollard Road project. I'm not recommending that at this point, but I have factored that into the budget as we get closer to understanding more what those costs will be and what our fund balance ends at. It also utilizes about 5.175 million of current general fund balance for some specific projects. In terms of millage rates, I mentioned maintaining a millage rate of 6.59. These are the millage rates throughout the county as of our last survey of our neighboring jurisdictions. Those that are in the yellow column on the far right, that is the proposed 2024 fiscal year millage rates. These are certainly subject to further discussion and final approval by those jurisdictional boards, but you can see everybody that went up last year, that we reduced last year, is staying the same this year, with the exception of Lake Alfred. They are going to also have a small decrease this year. Those that did not make an adjustment going into fiscal year 23 are the ones that are making adjustments this year. And there are 2 that I'm aware of. Lake Wales, they actually reduced last year and are going up full mill this year. Bartow had gone up last year 0.6 of a mill, and it's my understanding that they may be going up 1.5 mills on top of that this year.
Who was that?
Bartow.
Bartow. Okay.
The county is reducing their millage from 6.69 to 6.49. I point that out because that has a direct benefit to all of our citizens across the entire county. So when you drop the county rate, we all pay county taxes, so that is a benefit to all taxpayers. In terms of all revenues, $226,990,971. This is across all funds to include the utility fund. You can see that the utility fund revenues constitute about 70 million. In general fund, we have about 66 million in revenues, and I'll elaborate on that shortly. But this is our collective revenues coming in for all of the various funds that we have. Roughly $227 million. Our expenditures total out at 295,000. That is different from what I just said as far as the budget, because it includes interfund transfers that get counted twice at this point. But the key takeaway with this is that when you talk about the total expenditures, you can see that the capital, when we look at all of our departments and all of our funds combined, capital represents about 47% of the budget. Personnel about 18%. A lot of capital projects within our budget coming forward. These are projects that we have planned for years. We had borrowed money in the past. We had funds and reserves earmarked for projects that are coming due at this point in time. So that's why the capital is so high. In the general fund, our revenues again total just shy of 66 million. Of that, the ad valorem, based upon that 6.59 millage, is forecast to be $25 million. And you can see within the budget how that lays out our transfers and contributions. That includes the transfers that come in from the utility fund, transfers that come in from solid waste. I do want to point out that in 2017, following some feedback on our utility system, it was recommended that we did so, establish a policy where we reduced our transfer amount by $300,000 each year until we got down to 12% of our audited operating revenues. We are at 12% this year, and this marks the third year in a row that we have met that 12% threshold. In terms of the expenditures by type and department, you can see that the police department constitutes the largest departmental expenditure at 22% of the total of the general fund budget. Fire at 18%, followed by Parks and Rec, Public Works, and so on down the line. Public safety as a whole is 40.16% of the general fund budget. I go back to our ad valorem forecast for next year is slightly above $25 million. The cost to operate our police and fire department is over $28 million. So the ad valorem revenues that we bring in off the 6.5 do not cover the costs associated with our police and fire operations in total. I mentioned the STEP plan. This is something that we put into play in 2021. We are at year 2024 is noted here. So our employees are slated to receive a 2.5% step adjustment on their anniversary. So that is spread throughout the year. I just lost my screen, AJ. Slight technical challenge this evening, it looks like.
We've got ours. That makes a difference. Ours is up.
No,
There you go. Thank
it is
you.
now.
Now it is. Okay. So I mentioned I haven't included within this tentative budget a 2% COLA adjustment for our workforce. And the chart that you see reflects that over the past for June alone, when you look at what we're looking at for a CPI adjustment, it's a 12.03% adjustment year over year for June. So for the past 2 years, our adjustment last year for our COLA was an 8% adjustment for our frontline employees, a 5% for our mid-level employees, and 2% for our upper management administration. 2% that is recommended this year certainly puts our lowest employees at combined over the 2 years at 10%. That's still below that 12% CPI. We think that this in being coupled with our merit or our STEP program increases is what we need to do to stay competitive in the recruitment side. I will point out that this is something that we are still at the negotiation table with. This would apply to employees within our police, fire, and general employee unions. So we're still at the negotiating table with all those. I mentioned in our budget presentation on Wednesday, some recommended adjustments of what I'm proposing to take back to our unions in case of fire and police. Do want to note again that that is still subject to negotiation. I've included that in the tentative budget into what we've prepared in the financials simply because I have to have something to present to the commission as a tentative budget. I don't want to go forward and say I've not included anything for our employees, only to come back and have to restructure an entire financial plan based upon what we get through negotiation. So as we get back to the table in the coming weeks with all three of those unions, and what comes before you in September could look slightly different, but I feel that we are, we'll make those adjustments within the numbers that we have. Any questions with that? Just want to make sure I'm abundantly clear with that. Okay. We did add, as I mentioned, 13 new positions. Only 3.5 of those are within the general fund. The one new position that's of note within here, the deputy chief of police. So that is a position that we are recruiting for today. That position will remain within our budget for 1 year. We're sad to say that in 2024, Chief Brennan will be retiring as he ends the his drop period ends. So the anticipation is that the deputy police chief of police is somebody we're hiring in, somewhat of a coach in waiting, chief in waiting, have an opportunity to develop and really get to know the agency under Chief Brannon's leadership and tutelage, and then be in an excellent position in which to step into that role at that time. Also included within there a benefits and risk management position within HR. We've talked about this a number of times, but having somebody that can really focus in on our benefit program and our insurance programs and find areas where we can work out some additional savings there and implement some plans that will help reduce our expenses. And then a handful of positions within the utility operations. Said this, I think, on more occasions I can shake a stick at. We are growing so fast that just trying to keep up with the infrastructure that's making its way into the ground is a challenge. So you can see some of the positions that we've included within utilities. That is really to help deal with just how fast we're growing in that area. And the last one is in solid waste, and that's our litter control coordinator to really help facilitate some work with Keep Winter Haven Clean and Beautiful and some of the nonprofits to go out and beautify our roadways and deal with some of the litter that we're facing. Several positions that are reclassified. The one that I'll call your attention to this evening is the changing the title of the public safety director from department director to an assistant city manager for public safety. My argument for that is that the role that Charlie Bird is in at present time, it's listed as a department director. However, by any benchmark standard that you would look at within public administration as a profession, you'll find that that position overseeing 2 of the largest departments within the organization. To consider that as a department director would be inappropriate. It is an assistant city manager, and under that role, he would continue to oversee police, fire, safe neighborhoods / code compliance, all of our emergency operations, and it is a title change only at this point. Other position titles that you can see that changed within that. I've gone through these at length with all of you, but I'm happy to answer any questions if between now and when we approve the budget, there needs to be more dialogue on this. A lot of these are simple adjustments, as an example, within our summer camps, adding a week to our staffing levels there so we can get some additional training with those personnel. We do have some adjustments within the library, and that is to fall within a market comparison with where we should be on our librarians and librarian 2s. So those are our reclass positions. General fund, as I mentioned, I am recommending within this budget that we utilize a small portion of our general fund revenue, fund balance, a little over $5.1 million to go towards specific projects to include the filtration system at the Rowdy Gaines pool, to fund the gap for Lake Elbert Trail. That project is actually going to be coming to you in August for approval and award. And then also for HVAC renovations at North Mayo Hall. We'll close our fiscal year 23 books in December, and there is expected to be a fund balance from coming out this calendar, this fiscal year. So that will take that fund balance back up to around 31%. We do have a few other projects that we have our eye on that we would ask to whatever excess there is over the 30% to assign to that. The timing is not necessary to do that in the budget just yet. These are projects that are a little further out, but could need those funds at the end of this coming fiscal year. Just a reminder that 30% target, we're grateful for the commission to have done that. That is what has helped to get our credit rating up from an AA- to a AA. And so we are very proud of that. Some of the projects I mentioned, there's a lot of capital in this budget. So you can see about $58.3 million in the two construction funds. Lake Maud Park Phase 2, I believe Andy Palmer told me that the GMP for that construction will be coming in August. The Winter Haven Recreation and Cultural Center improvements, that is in the design phase right now. Construction documents being developed. I expect that to go into construction just after the first of the year. Chain of Lakes Park Phase 2, this is a project that we will likely have some bonding for, primarily because the county's contribution to this is in the form of principal and interest on debt. That is a project that we are still having discussions with them on how best to advance that. Lake Elbert Trail, as I mentioned, this is just the trail portion. There is also funding in our budget for the utilities and the stormwater aspects of that project. This will be coming to you for award and approval in August. We think this will begin construction probably around the first of the year, depending upon what the lead time on materials and equipment may be with that. It could occur sooner, but I don't want to set an unrealistic expectation there. Construction purchase of the building facility. This is to create a building division, new space within the old fire station immediately to our north here. At the same time, they are exploring opportunities to acquire an existing building in Southeast Winter Haven for a satellite office to help address the amount of construction that we're seeing in Southeast Winter Haven between the multifamily and the medical that's happening out there. That is just a booming area. So to have some office space out there that would make that a little more efficient for us to serve our customers, that is the intent there. Rowdy Gaines Olympic Pool, that is complete replacement of a 22-year-old filtration system. Normale Hall HVAC renovations. I think we can all appreciate the need to do something with our HVAC there. Lake Conine recreation improvements. That is one of the projects that is ongoing, and we will be adding funds to that. Excuse me. And then Fire Station 4, that is nearing a GMP as well.
You okay?
I'll make it.
Hey, T, quick question on the Lake Elbert Trail. You said maybe start by the end of this year, or your
MJ, you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, so that should come back to the commission to approve the contract in August. And then depending on the availability of materials will really dictate how quickly we can get started. But the contract will be approved if the commission approves it in
in
August.
August?
Yep.
And you're expecting a 6-month project, or how long you think?
Yeah, probably more like a year,
Take a whole year?
probably.
That's because all the utilities?
Yeah, so we're replacing all the utilities in the corridor, the roadway itself, and then building the trail. And there's a lot of stormwater work also.
Wow, okay, I didn't realize it would take that long. Okay,
Will the Lake Conine project be completed in calendar year 24?
I think it'll be done in calendar year 24. Yes, sir. Not in fiscal year 24. I think it'll take us past October 1st.
October.
Yes, sir. In the transportation fund, the biggie here is the Pollard Road CSX extension. That is likely what we expect to have to contribute towards that project on top of the grant dollars that we have from the state. I have plugged that in as a potential borrowing to cover that cost, but again, the amount of that borrowing would be contingent upon what our fund balance is at the end of fiscal year 23. The TIP is included in this fund. That's at $2 million. And we have a number of different tools that we are now utilizing to address our roadways. MJ will be bringing back a presentation to the commission on the success of those different approaches sometime before the end of this fiscal year. Avenue K project, again, that's a pretty sizable investment that you see in there. There's a lot of DOT funds that are going into that project. Noticed or a pre-construction meeting was just held on that, so you'll start seeing activity on that in the coming weeks. In total summary, budget, as you can see for fiscal year 23-24, $257,001,165 based upon a 6.59 millage rate. It includes 13 additional full-time positions and 2 additional part-time positions. It proposes a COLA of 2% for our employees. $19.7 million in transportation fund capital projects, 58.3 million in construction projects. A couple points I want to make out before I conclude. One of the things we need to talk about is the next meeting for a workshop, because we want to fold in our utilities budget at that point. Mayor Dancer and Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong, it's my understanding you'll both be attending the Florida League of Mayors meeting leading into the Florida League of Cities. That meeting is on Wednesday, August 9th. So I would like to propose that we move our workshop that week to Tuesday, August 8th. That will allow us to continue to have the workshop and also that evening on the 8th. What I would propose is that we would begin at 5 o'clock and we'd be able to give you an overview on the utilities budget. It will not be an overly long, complicated presentation. It's mainly to talk about some of the projects they have, a lot of their personnel, revenues, items of that nature are already included in what you've heard. So it's really about really nailing down the capital aspects and then also giving some summary on what rates look like in the future and kind of a rate analysis of how we compare with some of our other cities. So if you would be so inclined as to look at your calendars and see if you can accommodate Tuesday, August 8th for a workshop.
At 5:30,
You can do it at 5:30.
you can do it at 5:30. I can't do it at 5.
Okay, we can certainly accommodate that on our side. Anybody else have any conflicts with the 5:30 on that date? Nope. Okay, we will see that that is placed on your calendars. It will likely be a 30 to 45-minute workshop followed by an agenda review immediately thereafter. Couple just follow-up points based upon questions that we've received during briefings and during the workshop last week. Mayor Dancer, you'd asked about funding for the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. I've confirmed that there is funding within the Parks and Recreation Administration budget for the CAAC for project or initiative for this coming fiscal year at $25,000. That is the same amount we had last year. It's my understanding that they do intend to spend a small portion of that this year, but I don't know exactly how much or what that's going towards. The EDC revenues, there was a question as to what percent we comprise of their operations for fiscal year 23. Just a little under 38% is what the city's contribution is. For fiscal year 24, it'll be a little, just slightly over 41%. And that's partly because I've recommended that we increase their funding based upon the work that they're accomplishing on our behalf. Fieldhouse pro forma. Current revenues cover about 31% of actual operating expenses. As I mentioned in our workshop last week, that is direct revenues, direct expenses. There's a lot of indirect revenue that we realize off of those programs and activities that happen at the field house. And certainly their expenses are not just tied to the athletic side where we have revenue coming in. It's also applies to the theater and the art gallery side of that operation that is not a revenue producer for us. Commissioner Yates, you had asked about debt service. The debt service is not factored into that. That is a separate line because it goes back to the construction aspect of it. The city's debt service on that building is just over $1 million annually. The county's debt service on the building is about $704,000. So we had a little more skin in the game than the county did on that one. There's a question about Medicare and can we do something with respect to our employees who become Medicare age eligible to go into that program. Based upon the number of employees that we have, by being greater than 20 employees, we cannot switch due to that simple fact. When you have over 20 employees, you're required to provide the same benefits to all your employees, and requiring them to go into Medicare. First of all, the rest of our employees would not qualify for that benefit, and it could be deemed as an age discrimination factor. I will say that when our employees go into Medicare, our city insurance becomes the primary coverage and the Medicare becomes the secondary coverage. Once they retire out, that completely flips. That Medicare becomes the primary, city becomes the secondary. Willowbrook Golf Course. Question about how much is paid to Willowbrook to Indigo for their services. $8,224 a month, or just a little over $96,600 per year. And I'd say we're getting a heck of a deal. Give me 1 second. The last thing I wanted to point out, we have, Mayor, you had brought this up some time ago about cybersecurity. I think when you were in Portland, that was a big issue. This budget does include $250,000 in contractual services tied to cybersecurity. It is a proposal we received from Kyler Technologies. That is who does all of our finance and HR software. And it is a system that would monitor all of our operations on a 24/7 basis with people that really understand that aspect of it and are familiar with the ins and outs of our software. So I'm very pleased to see that included in our budget from the IT department. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. Again, thank you to CJ and Alan for their work, and Katrina in putting together the presentation. We will go forward with a utility presentation in August on the 8th at 5:30. We will have our commission budget approvals in September. And so what our recommendation is this evening to comply with the Truth in Millage Act, the trim notice, is that we set our first meeting, because we are in conflict with the Board of County Commissioners, for September 11th. Our first budget meeting would need to be on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. And our second meeting would be on September 25th, 2023, which happens to be my 30-year wedding anniversary. My wife will be quite pleased to spend the evening here at City Commission.
If she's coming, we'll do something special for her.
Okay. Approve a budget. Approve my first budget. That would make her extremely happy.
That's boring.
Well, maybe for you. And so we're also recommending a millage rate of 6.59 mils at the 96.5% collection rate. That would be an anticipated ad valorem of $25,059,424. As we say each year, we must notify the property appraiser of this by August 4th. We're also required to complete all the tax increment adjustment worksheets for the city downtown of Lawrenceville with CRAs and the maximum levy calculation. The rollback millage rate for fiscal year 22-23 would be 6.0066. Because this millage rate exceeds the rollback rate, we do have to advertise it as a tax increase. If you no matter what you do, if you don't hit that tax or that rollback rate, you have to do that. That's always been the case. So our recommendation is that you establish the 23-24 millage rate, tentative millage rate at 6.59 mils. Set the first public hearing date on fiscal year 24 budget to be held September 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the John Fuller Auditorium at City Hall at 451 3rd Street Northwest, Winter Haven, Florida 33881. Thank you.
Questions? One thing you forgot, T. Pickleball courts.
I'm waiting for like your birthday, or maybe it's my anniversary. I bring that for. I don't know. No, we had a meeting. Julie, Andy Palmer and I had a meeting last week. I think Tuesday last week. We are exploring some options with our pickleball future plans. I'm gonna be happy to bring those to you when I am able to do so. But we are working on something in that regard that I hope to be able to share very soon.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
There's always hope, Mr. Mayor. There's always hope.
Okay, but just not in this year's budget, doesn't sound like.
Well, I think that it depends, We crafted a budget that's very conservative, first and foremost. We didn't bank on one-time revenues that we're seeing right now. We're doing great on interest rates right now. I don't expect that to be the case indefinitely. I'm certainly not going to say just because we brought in X amount this year, we're going to see that next year. So, where we have fund balance, we have not peeled all that away and assigned it to projects. We want to get through 2023 and see exactly what we have. We have monies that are above that 30%. If we can bring that back to the commission and there's a collective agreement that, yes, we'd like to see that project happen, it will be one-time money spent on one-time investments. So I think that if we can make some headway on what we're hoping to do, at a minimum, we should be able to get into the design phase this year.
Okay. All right, commissioners, any questions? Drink you some water and take an allergy pill. My goodness, it sounds like you got something going on.
Thank you for your concern.
It's only because we love you.
I feel it.
All right, so,
Probably have a motion on what.
pardon?
I think it'd be appropriate to entertain a motion on what.
Yes. We need a motion to, know what the motion is, right? Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
make a motion to establish the 2023-2024 millage rate at the same millage rate of previous year at 6.59, as well as set the date and time for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget first meeting, which was September 12th. At 5 p.m. 6 p.m. Almost had it.
You did pretty darn good. Okay. All right, well, we have a motion. I will close the city commission meeting to open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak to this motion, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. Commissioners, questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Both like sign. Motion passes. All right. Liaison reports. Mayor Pro Tem, why don't you lead us off?
All right, just want to thank the police department, code enforcement, fire department and EMS that participated in our Barnesville CDC paint project where we painted 3 homes of senior citizens that were a minimum of 65 years of age. One of them was 65 and the other 2 were veterans. Painted all 3 houses and were finished and having lunch by 12 noon. And so we had over 40 volunteers. And so I just want to Director Byrd or Assistant City Manager Byrd was on the job. And so Jamie and we just had a good team out there. So I really appreciate that. And the the citizens in the Winter Haven area appreciate it as well. Attended an off the clock at Cassidy. And basically for the last couple of weeks, I've been dealing with my wife's sister. We've been going backwards and forth to Fort Myers that had a stroke. And she succumbed to her illness last week. And we will be funeralizing her this coming Saturday. So it's all bittersweet, but I'm here. And one final thing, I want to officially announce that I will be running for re-election to this city commission in November.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. Brian?
Sure. Couple things. So attended the Ritz board meeting and Main Street Winter Havens board meetings. Ritz is doing well. They received a nice grant. And they're still in search of their new executive director, but the team there is putting on great entertainment each weekend. So if you have a chance, want to stop by for a great movie or show, tickets are available. Attended the city ice cream social here. I think that was for the interns, right? We did that.
Oh, it's one.
It wasn't for me because I didn't eat
The
it.
interns.
Yeah, I'm still trying to shrink, so I stayed away from the ice cream, but it looked good. But appreciate all the hard work our interns have given us and continue to give us. So thank you to those guys and gals. Attended the public safety oath of office where we swore in new EMTs, firefighters, and police. And always great to see those teams grow with great individuals and great citizens. And then finally, I attended the Florence Villa CRA meeting. In that meeting, there was a presentation for, and I'm going to get the name of the building wrong, but what is it, Eric? The revital of the commercial building.
The Todd Hunter building?
Off of Martin Luther King, the distillery building.
Yeah, the Caribbean Distillers Building.
Yes. So there was I'm thinking of the right meeting, right?
That was
Florence
at the
Villa
planning commission meeting.
Is it?
That was at the
I
planning.
attended the planning commission meeting too. I knew it was one and the same, but they presented, looks like that development is moving forward and will be coming before us soon. And you guys got me as liaison to all these different things, so it's hard to keep track sometimes. But I'm super stoked to see that finally gets some life and get some growth to move forward for the northeast section of Winter Haven and some more housing coming in that area. And
Did they give you a time frame?
I don't think they had a specific time frame just out yet, but it sounds like they're going to be moving along relatively quickly. He left.
Just looking to see if the representative was still there. He was
Yeah,
here on another matter. No, we don't have a specific time frame for them moving forward, but phase one is the northern part of the project that's currently green. There's no industrial buildings on it. They're going to start there with a residential project and then phase south.
Which that project, of course, will provide additional revenues for the Florence Villa CRA, which I attended the Florence Villa CRA meeting, and they adopted their budget. And, I can't remember, but 4 or 5 years ago, when I was on there, it seems like that budget was around $500,000-$600,000, and now it's north of $1 million. So the growth continues for the northeast area of Winter Haven, and it's positive growth, and so a lot of good things are happening. So and just want to also give thanks to city staff once again for creating and putting together a well thought out, efficient, fiscally responsible budget. And I look forward to continue more discussions on that. And guess Nat, since we're doing it, I'll go ahead and make the announcement too. I've filed my paperwork and am pretty much qualified. One little item, still got to turn that in, but it certainly has been an absolute honor of a lifetime to serve up here the last 4 years, and I hope that citizens of Winter Haven give me the opportunity to serve another 4. We've made such tremendous progress over the last 4 years, and to really start to see some of the fruits of our labor come to fruition in the Winter Haven Cultural Center and the Lake Elbert Trail, and projects that, have been talked about for years are finally moving forward. So hopefully I'll have the opportunity to continue to serve.
Okay,
That's it.
good luck. Commissioner Mercer.
Yes, I attended the public safety oath of office and we got to see a lot of new employees coming on and also those that were being promoted. So it's always great to see the newcomers and to know that they can make it through and get promoted. So and congratulations to all of them. Also, the local housing partnership board was canceled. It's been rescheduled. That one wasn't one that I attended. The AHAC meeting is another one. That's affordable housing too also, but it wasn't in the past 2 weeks. It was a little bit before that. Chamber off the clock at Cassidy was another one I attended. I also attended a birthday party for Manny. A lot of people may not know him. Some people may know him. He was like 80 years old. So it's really great to see those people still involved at that age in the community and the live wire. I guess since everybody else has announced, I might as well go ahead and do it too. I guess we're all three going to do that. So yes, it's been a little bit different, as everyone has known that I worked for the city of Winter Haven for about 10 years, moved on to some other communities. Matter of fact, I think I've worked in about 6 different cities and 2 different counties, and it's been a long career, but nothing pleases me better than to be home and serve Winter Haven. So it's my final probably place to stay. So I've always kept my home here because even though I have worked for other cities, I reside in Winter Haven and probably will always do that. So, but anyway, that was part of the things I wanted to say. Thank you to the budget staff and to those that put the budget together. It's quite a document and a nice document. So thank you for that. And I think that's it for me.
Okay, well, hey, had I known, I'd have done a mayor's proclamation and we'd have called July 24th political announcement day or something, and we could have had pictures and got everybody down there. So congratulations to all 3 of you. Good luck to you, and I wish you all the best. And it has been a good 4 years. So I've been chasing around 3 grandkids, all 5 and under. So I haven't been around it a whole lot, but I did go to the sweet treat at the Chamber of Commerce, and I did eat the ice cream. I didn't look at it, so I did eat a little bit too much. And I had a meeting with James Ring, Congressman, who came up and set up an office over here with Congressman Franklin. And he and I had a real good conversation. And I don't think he's going to take that space. I was trying to rent that space to him up there, but I don't think they're going to rent it. So we can probably prepare to use that space if we want to. So really, that's it for me. I had kind of a slow week and I was gone. Appreciate you guys covering for me during the agenda review session. City Attorney, you got anything?
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
City Manager?
Let me start off by saying I'd like to announce
Nat started it.
that I'm going to be out of the office beginning on Thursday.
Oh, okay. That's not a proclamation.
That's should be an ordinance. I don't know. No, I'm going to be out of the office beginning Thursday. Actually leaving town on Friday and be out through the following week for a little R&R with my family. Deputy City Manager will be here and be able to handle things in my absence, so have no concerns there. This past weekend, we had an unveiling for a new sculpture downtown on private property, but I wanted to share this with the commission so you have a chance to see it. Local artist Bill Lawrence, who's doing a lot of projects, one with the Garden Club that will appear at the Winter Haven Library over the next year or maybe 2 years it might take. We're still trying to figure that out, but he did a sculpture at the corner of Magnolia Avenue, 2nd Street, which is the Central Florida Healthcare property. It's one of his butterflies that is in an actual butterfly garden. So Mayor, you were commented on at the celebration on Saturday for that. And if you get a chance to go by and take a look at it, it's really kind of a cool, beautiful piece there. It's going to be just from a landscape standpoint, something pretty special. Thank you again for your support of the budget. This has been we'll say a labor of love. It's been a real effort this year of a lot of new folks and that are involved in the process, you know, for CJ to come on board and I guess late January, early February, and 6 months later, here we are presenting a $257 million budget. That is just outstanding work, and to not know our operations coming in, I just can't sing her praises enough. So thank you for your support of that, and we look forward to finalizing that. Again, we've got some discussions we're still engaged in with our unions, and that will affect some of the pay and principles of that. And we'll be bringing that back to you in our final presentation.
And I meant to mention too, congratulate on the good budget. I thought it was a good budget, and I appreciate the meetings that we've had, and lines of communication are open. Even though we banter back and forth, we do take this seriously. And we do have lots of conversations behind the scenes to try to work things out. So thank you. I think it's a good budget. I feel good about it. And I tell you what, from the employee's point of view, the step increase that we instituted really makes the budget better, because we don't have that we have to think about. In other words, everybody knows what they're going to get. Everybody's satisfied every year, and we get every 5 years. So to me, that's been a game changer for the budget as far as I'm concerned. And for anybody that may be listening or watching, we don't run a real fat budget. We run a pretty lean outfit, and I'm proud of that. I don't feel like we're wasting any money. And CJ, excellent job. Appreciate you being here and helping us with what you're doing, and appreciate all your comments. So anyway, just wanted to give support and shout out for the budget. Who else? Deputy City Clerk, our Deputy City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. I just want to remind everybody the Neighborhood Service Center has their summer festivities this weekend. That's Saturday from 10 to 2. That should be a good event. They'll have some food there. They'll have activities. They'll have resources for people in the community. And then I also want to wish our city manager an early happy birthday as he celebrates another trip around the sun later this week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'll be here. You guys reach out if you need anything.
Okay. All right, City Clerk.
And then this evening.
All right, courtesy matters not received agenda. Motion to adjourn.